believe that Pokémon turns 20 today? I'm not kidding, folks. 20 years ago today, Pokémon Red and Green were released in Japan for the Game Boy, and 2 years later the series went international when Pokémon Red and Blue versions released to other markets around the world. In conjunction with the anime series, toys, the trading card game, children's books, several manga adaptations, the Topps cards, board and tabletop games. Oh god, there's so much!
Catch 'em, gotta catch 'em all, gotta catch 'em all, Pokémon!
Back in the late 90s, Pokémon was just everywhere. It was totally inescapable, a worldwide phenomenon. And even now, it's in its 6th generation of games, still making really good money, often considered to be a system seller for Nintendo handhelds. And the 7th generation of games were just announced yesterday, Pokémon Sun and Pokémon Moon, and they're coming out this year! But for all 2 of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, let me break it down for you. Pokémon, at its core, is a series of role-playing games for Nintendo handhelds that allows players to battle, catch, and trade creatures called, well, Pokémon. Pokémon are based on different real-world animals, myths, and legends. Some can breathe fire, others can channel electricity, and as they level up and become stronger, many Pokémon undergo an evolution, which is really just a metamorphosis if you want to get technical.
Now you're a man! Now you're a man! A man! You are now a man, you're a man!
Now don't think that this is glorified cockfighting, however. Pokémon don't battle against their will, nor do they fight to the death, but only until their opponent faints or is unwilling to fight anymore, at which point they're taken to a Pokémon Center to be healed for free. The series emphasizes that Pokémon are friends and allies, and not just tools for sport. The initial concept for Pokémon came from creator Satoshi Tajiri's love of bug collecting as a child, and he wanted to sort of recreate that in a video game setting. But then somewhere along the line during development with his team at GameFreak, they decided to take advantage of the Game Boy's link cable system that really wasn't used, and they split Pokémon into a red version and a green version. Now, they're not that different, the story's the same. The main difference, really the only difference, is that there's maybe a dozen or so Pokémon that are version exclusive. So in order to collect all the Pokémon in the Pokédex, about 150 in this generation, you have to trade with the other version. This was done to encourage socializing amongst kids. Pokémon Red and Green were a resounding success in Japan when they came out in 1996, and a year later GameFreak made a blue version that featured bug fixes and a minor graphical update, which was what the international versions, Red and Blue, were based on. Then in 1998, Japan saw another version of the Gen 1 games, which featured some more cosmetic and technical tweaks, but that wasn't the only thing about it. This game was based a bit more on the anime series. Pokémon Yellow. And would you believe I've never actually beaten Yellow version? It's not for lack of trying, though. I've gotten pretty far in Yellow version multiple times, but I'd always drop off either because a new game came my way, I had lost interest, or, the main culprit, the cartridge's save battery would die. And that's the case with this cart. The save battery is long dead. So if I wanted to actually play through it, I'd have to keep the console on at all times. Also unfortunate is that my Hauppauge really doesn't want to record anything standard def, so recording my GameCube and the Game Boy player is kind of out of the question at the moment. And the only other official release is for the 3DS Virtual Console, which comes out the day this video comes out. And I don't even have a way to record my 3DS, so just this once, I'm going to be using an emulator. Now, I'm only doing this because I actually have the cart. So, let's take a look at Pokémon Yellow version for the Game Boy. Pokémon Yellow's story is the same as the one presented in the other Gen 1 installments, albeit with a few changes. You're given a Pokémon by Professor Oak, a former Pokémon trainer, as well as a portable encyclopedia for you to fill out called the Pokédex, which you fill in by battling and capturing new Pokémon. To find wild Pokémon, you need to only walk in tall grass, fish on the water, surf, or roam about inside of caves. They will come to you. To catch them, get their HP down as low as possible and chuck a Pokeball at it. 3 shakes, and it's yours. Oak's grandson, your rival, is also given a Pokemon and a Pokédex to fill out. And over the course of your journey, the two of you will butt heads and battle at probably the most inopportune times. You name both of these characters at the start of the game, with one of the default names for the protagonist being Ash, and one of the default names for your rival being Gary, just to really hammer home the connection to the anime. I named my rival Frank. Along your travels, you'll come across the 8 Pokémon gyms, each one housing several trainers who focus on a specific type of Pokémon. Each gym's toughest trainer is called the Gym Leader, and upon clearing whatever challenges the gym places in front of you, you're able to challenge the Gym Leader for a gym badge. Collect all 8 gym badges, and you'll be granted access to the Pokémon League at the Indigo Plateau. You'll also encounter the criminal organization known as Team Rocket at various points in the game. They're a group of thugs that steals, captures, and sells rare and powerful Pokémon, and also sometimes experiments on them. You have to beat them at every turn and even take down their boss, Giovanni, a few times throughout the game. The premise of the first generation of Pokémon games is basic and easy for a child audience to grasp, so long as they have a basic reading ability. It can get dark at times, such as when you're traveling through the 7-story gravesite Pokémon Tower, but it's nothing gruesome. It's no epic tale like other RPGs of the era, but it's serviceable. That was just the baseline though, so what changed for Yellow version? Firstly, your starter Pokémon is no longer a choice between Charmander, Squirtle, or Bulbasaur. It's a Pikachu that you can't evolve and follows you around in the overworld. Pikachu also has a happiness factor, something which would be fleshed out in later games. You can talk to Pikachu at any time and see how it likes you or how it feels about your current situation. Aw, isn't it cute? This has also affected Frank, who now has an Eevee as his starter. Professor Oak was going to give it to you, but Frank was just too damn impatient and Oak had to give you the Pikachu he had only just caught. You can, however, still acquire the 3 starters from the previous installments, Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, at level 10 each as you reach certain points relatively early on in your quest. Team Rocket encounters have also been altered, with some of the last grunts you fight in their segments being Jessie and James from the anime. And, just like in the anime, they're total pushovers. If that wasn't enough, the gym leaders have been tweaked a fair bit, as they've now had their levels adjusted to provide a new level of challenge and their teams altered to better reflect the anime. The difficulty curve between the 4th and 5th gym leaders is massive, going from Pokemon in the low 30s to those at level 50. My most powerful Pokemon were only in the mid 30s when I battled Koga, and I was battling every trainer leading up to him after Erica. If you aren't prepared to do some grinding, then have fun with trial and error tactics. These changes may seem minor, but they're only the most noticeable ones. Thankfully, they have enough of an impact to completely differentiate Yellow version from Red, Green, and Blue versions. For example, early game is now much more difficult because the first gym leader, Brock, has Rock Ground Pokemon, and Pikachu is your starter, an electric type, and electric moves don't affect ground types, and any other moves that it learns are normal moves, and Rock resists those. Pokémon battles work primarily on a rock-paper-scissors-like system where one type of Pokémon is resistant or even immune to certain attacks, but more susceptible to certain others. For example, fire beats grass, grass beats water, water beats fire, and they resist each other in the opposite order. And there are 15 types in total in Gen 1, each with their own strengths and weaknesses, but I'd be here forever if I went over all of them. But just because you have a type advantage doesn't mean you're going to win easily. If your Pokemon isn't at a suitable level, then it can still be creamed by opponents it should be strong against. And trust me, with the changes made to some of the later gym leaders, you'll learn that very quickly. Each Pokemon has 4 move slots and can learn new moves through leveling up, through the one-time use of a technical machine, or TM, and from the limitless use of hidden machines, or HMs. HMs also have use outside of battle, being able to cut down trees, ride your Pokemon on the water, and even fly from city to city, provided you have the correct gym badge. Unfortunately, unlike other moves, HMs can't be unlearned, so you have to be sure about teaching it to a Pokemon. Thankfully, most of them are decent moves in their own right, but it's still aggravating that there's no way to have your Pokemon forget them, which essentially leaves them with 3 move slots if you think about it. Some people complain about how the base mechanics of Pokemon have, for the most part, remained largely unchanged from how they work here in Gen 1, but I'm glad it's kept to its core formula for so long. Battles are relatively quick, and you're able to save your progress whenever you're not in battle, which is more than ideal for a handheld game, let alone a handheld RPG. Unfortunately, Yellow version still suffers from the negative aspects and technical faults of the Gen 1 battle system, and after not really playing Gen 1 for maybe a decade or so, it was kind of hard to adapt to such a rudimentary system. I adapted quickly, but then again, I've had experience. If you get hit by any move that lowers your accuracy, even by just a single stage, then landing a hit becomes almost entirely luck-based. However, if you used a move to raise your evasion 3 times, the AI is still able to land hits on you with practically no issues. Moves like Wrap and Bind prevent you from attacking for several turns while your opponent continually deals damage to you, with the only way to escape without waiting it out is to just switch out your Pokemon. A Pokemon waking up from a sleep condition takes a turn in and of itself, meaning that the opponent is able to put them back to sleep the following turn with no opposition if it has a higher speed stat. Move effectiveness is partially determined by a Pokemon's secondary typing, and sometimes disregards the primary typing of the defending Pokemon in the process. This leads to Pokemon like Tentacruel, a water poison type which should take neutral damage from grass moves, being resistant to them because of its poison typing. Some moves are flat out broken, like Focus Energy. It's supposed to quadruple your chance of landing a critical hit, but instead it brings it down to a quarter. And speaking of crits, those are determined by a Pokemon's level and speed over its opponent, so high-level, fast Pokemon land a lot more critical hits. Couple this with a move like Slash, which has a higher crit chance on its own, and you'll be cutting through enemies like butter. And then there are the two biggest technical flaws of Gen 1, the Special Stat and Psychic types. For the first 3 generations of Pokemon games, an attack would be determined to be physical or special by its type. Normal, rock, ground, and those kinds of moves would be physical and use the attack stat, and fire, water, grass, electric, and elemental moves like those would use the special attack stat. But in Gen 1, there was no special attack or special defense stat. They were a single stat simply called special. So if you have a Pokemon that's good with special moves, it would take special moves pretty damn well. This is most notable in the Psychic type, which is crazy broken and overpowered in Gen 1 partially because of this. Adding on to that is that Psychics are meant to have 2 weaknesses, Bug and Ghost. There really aren't any Bug moves that do much damage, and there aren't that many Pokemon that can learn those moves, but those that can are also part Poison, which makes them weak to Psychic. Then there's Ghost types, which are hinted to be powerful against Psychics, and the anime even flat out states, yeah, Ghosts are strong against Psychic types.
Only one other type of Pokemon can battle the Psychic type. If you capture a Ghost Pokemon from Lavender Town, you might have a chance.
A ghost Pokemon from Lavender Town.
But possibly due to a programming error, Psychics are totally immune to Ghost-type attacks. Granted, there weren't any Ghost moves that really did that much damage based on type, and the only 3 Ghosts were part Poison, making them weak to Psychic anyway. But man, is that a slap in the face! This makes the 6th gym leader, Sabrina, difficult to defeat if you aren't prepared, since she uses Alakazam, one of the most powerful Psychic types in the game, and it's level 50 on top of that. If you have a Psychic type on your team, you're pretty much set for your journey throughout Kanto. Thankfully, the special stat was split into Special Attack and Special Defense as of Gen 2, and the Psychic type was fairly well balanced as of that generation, but for Gen 1, we're stuck with this balancing issue. Now, a lot of people overlook this simply because of the nostalgia factor or first installment wins. Now, I love nostalgia, I really do, and I'm getting a major nostalgia kick playing Yellow, but these glasses are not tinted rose. I can recognize the flaws. Outside of the battle system, there are 2 very notable flaws in Gen 1's mechanics. As you may have noticed, you can only have 6 Pokemon in your party at a time. Whenever you capture a Pokemon when you have a full party, it's sent to the PC. PCs are accessible from any Pokemon Center and are organized into boxes, which can only hold so many Pokemon. If your active box fills up, you're unable to catch any Pokemon until you go to a PC and change the active box to one which has an open space. If you catch Pokemon regularly, you'll run into this frequently, and it's frustrating because you have to temporarily abandon your attempts at catching Pokemon to switch your box. It's very annoying. Also, your bag space is ludicrously limited. Everything is jumbled into the same pocket. There are no separate categories for your items. And if you find an item in the overworld and it takes up the last slot in your bag, you won't be alerted to your bag being filled until you try to put another item in. If this happens in a dungeon or something, you're forced to either abandon the item, toss some stuff, or use whatever items you may have picked up in order to free up some space. Thankfully, you can sell items you don't need at Pokemarts and deposit them in the PC. Also, why does the PC for items not use the box system when Bill's PC for storing Pokemon does? Visually, Pokemon Yellow presents us with color for the first time in the series' history if you play it on a Game Boy Color. Each town is bathed in its own color based on the naming scheme. Cerulean City is blue, Saffron City is yellow, Cinnabar Island is red, and so on. For the 3rd time this generation, every Pokemon's front-facing sprite has been redone to resemble the anime more than Blue version. They look colorful, natural, and fairly accurate to the show. However, their back sprites still remain unchanged from Red and Green, which can cause some visual dissonance between the two sprites. After nearly 20 years, I still have no idea what's going on with Venusaur's back sprite. The battle animations for each move are just as they've been since Red and Green, and they still look good. Some of them do present rapid flashes of light though, so if you can't handle that, then keep this in mind. Thankfully, if you're epileptic or get headaches from flashing lights, you can turn off battle animations. The sound design in this game is sometimes a bit spotty, but generally very good. For Yellow version, Pikachu's old cry has been replaced with a heavily bit-crushed version of Ikue Otani's work as Pikachu from the anime. While it is bit-crushed to an extreme degree to get it to fit on an already packed cartridge, it's still very charming. In fact, I can say that about the rest of the Pokemon's cries in this game. They sound like roars or yelps or growls, but they all have that classic 8-bit feel to them. The music of Gen 1 is incredibly catchy and makes you feel like you're going on a fun, lighthearted adventure from the moment you set foot outside of Pallet Town. I've had these songs stuck in my head for nearly 20 years, and so have millions of other fans. In fact, a lot of the music from the anime is just the music from the games recorded with an orchestra, and it sounds absolutely astounding. During battle, though, the higher frequencies of the music will be cut out because of battle sound effects and cries, which can be a bit jarring sometimes, especially when your Pokemon's HP is in the red and that incessant beeping overtakes the music, driving you absolutely insane. Thankfully, though, that's really the only shortcoming in the audio department. Now, before going any further, if you don't want the ending spoiled for you, then skip to this time frame. I know most people already know how this game ends, but there's always going to be at least someone who doesn't and wants to experience it for themselves, so I'm giving that person this opportunity. Upon being defeated at Silphco in Saffron City and Team Rocket being crushed for the last time, Giovanni vows that you will face him again. After attaining your next 2 gym badges, you arrive back in Viridian City for your 8th and final badge. As it turns out, the 8th gym leader is Giovanni, and he plans to rebuild Team Rocket from his gym. After defeating him, he scraps his plans and confers unto you the Earth Badge. I don't blame him though. If some 11-year-old kid wrecked my criminal operations in rapid succession, I'd give up too. Before heading into Victory Road on your way to the Pokemon League at the Indigo Plateau, Frank stops you for one last battle, only to be creamed by you again. I'm noticing a pattern here. Once you show the guards that you have all 8 badges, you navigate through Victory Road to reach the Indigo Plateau, where the Elite Four are waiting for you to challenge them. You fight them in rapid succession with no breaks to the Mart or Pokemon Center, and they have teams of Pokemon with levels ranging from the mid-50s to the low 60s. There's Lorelei, who uses Ice types, Bruno, who has a penchant for fighting types, Agatha, who's fond of Ghost types, and Lance, who uses the fabled Dragon type. After you beat Lance, he tells you that you would be champion had someone else not already beaten you to it, and that someone is Frank. After one last battle with Frank, Professor Oak comes and is surprised to see that Frank already lost the title of champion. He congratulates you on your victory, and lectures Frank on the importance of bonding with your Pokemon as friends. Oak leads you into the Hall of Fame, where you and your team are registered as champions, and the credits roll. It's nothing gigantic, but it's definitely a satisfying conclusion that fills you with a major sense of accomplishment. After that, though, the Unknown Dungeon by Cerulean City is unlocked, where you can capture Pokemon number 150, Mewtwo. Master Ball that sucker, and there you go. There are also the legendary birds, Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres, that you can capture before the Elite Four, but holy crap, this stupid mechanic where your Pokeballs can straight up miss is annoying. It was by pure luck that I caught Moltres, but the other 2 ended up being fodder. In spite of the technical flaws and more rudimentary battle system, Pokemon Yellow, and by extension the rest of Generation 1, has aged pretty well. The gameplay is pretty solid, the presentation is nearly immaculate, the story is simple and immersive, and it culminates in a true classic. If you want a better battle system though, try Fire Red and Leaf Green. The remakes of the original Red and Green, so you're not going to get the same experience as Yellow version, but you're going to get a much better gameplay experience because the technical faults of Gen 1 simply don't exist here. But I still recommend playing Yellow version for the unique experience, but these are still good to check out. As of today, you can download Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow for your 3DS on the eShop for $10. It's a steeper price than other Game Boy games on there, but you'd be getting plenty of bang for your buck. Plus, it's a better alternative to tracking down an actual cart and learning that the save battery is dead. And later this year, when Pokemon Sun and Moon come out, you'll be able to transfer all of your Pokemon from these Virtual Console releases to those games. It has been a crazy 20 years with Pokemon. Now granted, I came into it in 1998 when I was 3 years old, when the series went international, but I was hooked from the words "gotta catch 'em all." Pokemon helped me learn to read and make friends and really appreciate the friends that I have. Just trying to put my appreciation for this franchise into words is difficult, and that's about the best I can do, other than saying thank you, Tajiri-sama. Thank you, GameFreak, and everyone at Nintendo for making this happen. You've given me so many memories and so much joy my whole life, basically, and I can never forget that. Pokemon is a special franchise to me, and seeing it hit this milestone of 20 years and still going strong it almost brings tears to my eyes. Nope. I may or may not regret that later, but whatever. Until next time, guys, have a good night and happy gaming.